All right, guys, this is Settle for Three, episode three. I'm Joey, along with Cameron and Evan. Guys, thanks for coming back. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Ready to go for
Absolutely
another round.
wonderful.
Yeah.
All right, you guys are full of words tonight. So we're going to talk about bowls today. Um, do you guys even really care about the bowls anymore? Evan, let's start with you.
Gosh, that's a really good question. I am really excited about some of the bowls. I'll say that. A lot of them that have already happened and are about to happen, I don't necessarily care about. But I will say about 10% of them seem like really, really good games. The others, not so much.
Cam?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Evan. There are a few fun ones. There are a lot of just bloated ones that feel like they don't matter.
Hmm.
I love it for the kids. For the schools, congrats, you get a trophy. And other than that, bowl is a bowl.
I guess for me, if uh, I care more about the betting aspect of it, and if all these players are out, I'm not going to bet on the game. I'm just not going to sit there and watch it. But you know
Yeah.
what? That's a great lead into our episode where we're talking about the Bulls. So let's just go ahead and get to it before people pick something else to watch. So we wanted to each pick games we like this week. We each picked two. Cameron, we're going to start with you. Pop-Tarts Bowl, Miami versus Iowa State. Go.
I'm going to go ahead and start it off. Did anyone else see that they added a real heating element to the Pop Tart Bowl this year in order to actually heat the Pop Tart during
Hmm.
the game?
Yep.
Not sure if anybody else saw that, but that is an impeccable add-on. I love the Pop Tart Bowl. So between Miami and Iowa State, you have the number one offense in the country, at least by the air or through the air, and then you also have the number three passing defense in the country with Iowa State. In order for Iowa State to win this game, I really think it comes down to my favorite stat line: time of possession. I think you're going to need high time of possession rate. I'm thinking like 34, 35 minutes in the game. You need to limit the amount of time that Cam Ward is actually on the field with the offensive prowess that they have. And an efficient game from Rocco Becht. During the season, he's had a tendency of forcing things at times. He has 3,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, but he has had 9 picks. So he hasn't quite been perfect. Now, the other thing I'll call out, in order to be efficient, you need a ground game to get going. So we have J.R. Singleton, on the defensive side, who has had 4 sacks. And then you have Jontez Williams and Darian Porter, who have combined for 7 picks on the defensive end as well. So we actually have a pretty good Iowa State defensive side. And last but not least, from the Miami side, I think we all know what we need. We need Cam Ward to play his game, play lights out. We have 4,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions on the year. Quite frankly, those are video game like numbers. Cam Ward has been amazing the entire season as the number four, I think, Heisman candidate this year. Uh, in this game, I'll go ahead and spoil it. I like Miami. I just think their offensive prowess is too good for the Iowa State defense. I think it's a really fun game to watch, though.
Evan, what do you like about this? Or do you not like it at all?
I mean, I like both their records. Both 10-win teams. Look, this is either going to be a really, really good game or a blowout. It's. I don't think it's going to be close at all. And that could go either way. Look, Cam Ward, amazing quarterback. He has, but he also has some incredible offensive weapons. You got Isaiah Horton, who is in the transfer portal. He's kind of their I think he's their wide receiver three, but he's got 56 catches this year for over 600 yards and 5 touchdowns. That is somebody you're not going to have. And I don't necessarily think you're going to need him. And I'll be honest, all this is just me trying to make some stories about this game. I don't think it's going to be that close. Cam Ward's going to do Cam Ward things. It's Iowa State. They had a chance to, both teams had a chance to be in the playoffs. Iowa State, if they'd gotten into the playoffs, I think there'd be a whole different storyline going on, where they would be talked about like Arizona State is right now, where nobody really gives them a shot. I think they are in a really good bowl game given who they are. Other than that, I think Miami's taking it.
So I agree with you. It's going to be a blowout or a close game. If it's a blowout, that means Miami won. if it's a close game, that means Iowa State's in it. Honestly, to me, Miami's disappointed in every big game this year except the season opener against Florida. They didn't make the
Yeah.
playoffs. They're upset about it. I think they're going to disappoint again, so just give me Iowa State. Uh, Moving on, Armed Forces Bowl. We got Navy against the Fighting Baker Mayfields of Oklahoma. So, Cameron, what do you like about this game?
I wrote down, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet, which is not something I usually write down for these. Oklahoma's possibly the worst team in the SEC. I believe that they're number 13 in the SEC, if I'm not mistaken. They've been without an offensive identity the entire season, and they're going against one of the most run-heavy physical teams in the country.
Are they are
And
they ranked lower? Is Oklahoma ranked lower than Mississippi State, the SEC?
uh, I don't have an answer for you on that. The only reason I may say no is because my beloved Crimson Tide lost to Oklahoma in the 24-3 four matchup a few weeks ago, which I think was more of a, just a crapshoot than anything. Uh, but personally, I look at this game. Jackson Arnold is gone. The bigger call out, though, is actually that Bowers Sharp, the leading receiver for the Oklahoma offense, is actually out for this one. He is also in the transfer portal. He was their leading receiver with just over 300 yards. I want to bring that out to
Mhm.
present with every other team in the country. All that said, I like Navy. I like the time of possession that they're probably going to have in this game. I really don't see Oklahoma having much of an opportunity to win this game.
You agree, Evan?
Yeah, this is Navy all the way. I don't think it matters what Oklahoma's stats have been on offense this year. Their defense has carried them through all six of their wins. On the other side, Navy. All right. Well, let's say this: Navy's biggest win this season is against Army, right? Oklahoma. They have Alabama, so kind of lopsided as to who their best wins are, with Oklahoma kind of taking it there. On the other side, though, Blake Horvath, Navy's quarterback, has over 1,000 yards passing and rushing,
How many
and
touchdowns?
he's combined for 28 touchdowns in both. I don't think there is much of I don't think there's much of a competition here. I think Navy has like one person in the transfer portal, and that may be overstating it. They've got everybody playing in this game, the same team for the entire year. Oklahoma, they don't have any offense. The only hope they have is to be able to put their defense out on the field and hope that they can create a lot of turnovers with some really good field position.
And Navy thrives on those 3-yard plays
Mm.
on the offensive side and just being able to push you down
Yep.
the field the entire way.
Yep.
I think Oklahoma's Super Bowl was beating Alabama. They're not used to playing in bowl games like this, but they better get used to it now that they're in the SEC.
Well,
They are,
can we say one thing here
yeah,
though?
go
They
ahead.
they didn't they didn't just beat Oklahoma, or sorry, they didn't just beat Alabama. They embarrassed them.
Yeah.
But I just want to say that for Cameron.
Can you say it one more time?
Oh yes, absolutely. I'll say it louder for the people in the back. Oklahoma embarrassed Alabama. They look
Now,
like the number one team in the country.
now I will say you shouldn't be talking any smack right now, but
That's in a
I,
different episode.
but
We're not going to talk about that right now.
I'm gonna
That's an
allow it.
episode two.
I'm gonna in Kim's defense, you really shouldn't be, but I'm just gonna let you pile on for this one. I also like Navy. Oklahoma, what do they care about this game? I mean, their program's gonna be in big trouble in the SEC unless they do something. Evan, let's move on to your games. We got Georgia Tech and America's team, Vanderbilt,
So I'm going to
in
say this.
Birmingham.
Yes, in Birmingham, where the Stallions play. Okay, everybody just get that out there now.
Yep.
Giddy
Baltimore
up.
Stallions, giddy up. This is probably the game of the week, if I'm being completely honest, because these are two teams that have no business upsetting the amount of potential that was on the field across college football this season.
Hmm.
It's actually wild. And I was really, really close on both of these picks right now. So on one hand, Pavia, he has something to prove here, right? He sued the NCAA over eligibility rules because he spent some time in JUCO. he lost that lawsuit. Now JUCO, or excuse me, NCAA has changed their rules to allow for more eligibility for JUCO players that Pavia will no longer be able to take advantage of. And the reason that he was suing was over the fact that he can't take advantage of as much NIL money. He can't take advantage of his draft stock that has gone up so significantly because he's only had one real year of being able to prove himself. So he has a lot to prove in this game. I think we said, does he have 1 year of eligibility left? Right. So he has got to prove himself in this game, and then next year to have a really really good draft stock for going forward because he's going to make some better NIL money next year. Not as much. All that to say, Haynes King, Georgia Tech's quarterback. Georgia Tech has pulled off some really cool stuff behind King, and he's done some really cool things. Right, it's a rush first offense. They're a triple option offense. If Vandy can stop the run, which they have done multiple times, that is how they beat Alabama. Right, they shut down Milrow. That was the only way that they won. And that's really the only way that anybody's won against Alabama this year was shutting him down. So if they can do that, I think they got a really good chance in this. I'm going to take Vandy just because I think they've played a lot better competition. Georgia Tech has played a lot better against better competition, but I'm going to take Vandy in this one.
You agree?
Joey, you're going to get to call this one out and be the tiebreaker. I'm going to outwardly take Georgia Tech in this one.
Because you're
Haynes
bitter.
King,
Because you're bitter.
Haynes King and the Yellow Jackets this season have been absolutely fantastic. Evan called it out a second ago. There are 6 games throughout the season where these two teams played top 10 teams in FSU, Miami, Georgia, Alabama, Missouri, and Texas, right? And I know I just held up 5 fingers for 6 teams. It's some Alabama math right there. Um, but yeah, 3 of those games actually went to either of these two teams. They were both upset bid ready teams ready to go. The stat of the game, my favorite stat in the world, I alluded to it in the last pick. Time of possession. Both of these teams love to have the ball. Haynes King has done an amazing job the entire season in possessing, being efficient, and getting the ball 4 yards in a cloud of dust, whether it's behind his legs or using the tailbacks that he's got working with him. I really like Haynes King. That said, I also love how Pavia, sitting back in the pocket a little bit more, getting a few of these more underneath throws and being able to hit the long ball. I really like Pavia and the way that he sits back there. It's a really interesting dynamic between the two. All that said, Vandy getting 320 through the air, 220 on the ground, and then Georgia Tech 240 and 180 in this game. My personal feeling, I really like Pavia. I really hope he can have a great career. I think Georgia Tech in this one.
Wow.
So I just want to say, but before you go, Joey, this well, Cameron's got something else too, but I just want to say we're talking about Georgia Tech as a whole team. We're really talking about Vandy as one player,
Mm-hmm. Oh
and
yeah.
that's kind of how their season's gone.
Oh yeah.
I want to call out one really big stat. Vandy had a hell of a beginning to this season. They
Yeah.
are they are 1-5 in the last 5 games. They have been very, very poor down the stretch. Another reason I lean Tech.
There was a point after they beat Alabama where people were saying they could backdoor their way into the SEC championship game. I think it was even after they had lost to Texas they lost to Texas by 7 or something. It was a close game.
Mhm.
These are both underdog teams that I think a lot of people have galvanized behind this year, unless you're an Alabama fan. But how can you not root for two teams like this? It, like, let's just look at this objectively. Like, Vandy's never been good. Georgia Tech hasn't been good in a long time. Uh, Honestly, I think Vandy's going to win this game. I'm a little mad at Georgia Tech because they should have finished off Georgia when they should have.
I think we
And
agree.
and
Yep.
Vandy, honestly, like, prove me wrong. Like, they had the win of the year. Like,
Yeah.
I think they had the win of the year.
Yeah.
So
Honestly, Vandy wins only because Georgia Tech is still exhausted from
yeah,
8 overtimes against Georgia.
yeah. Give me Pavia all the way, man. I mean, well, we probably won't talk about Vandy that much next year, but let's send him out with a bang this year. So
I hope so,
give me
though.
Vandy.
Yeah,
So
I hope so.
let's head to Vegas. The always disappointing USC against the Texas A&M had about as good of a year as we expected. They probably expected better, but 8-4 is not bad. Um, what do you got there, Evan?
So I just want to say this: both Georgia Tech and Vandy and USC, Texas A&M, are two of the closest matchups as far as an FPI percentage to win chance goes. They're basically both 50-50.
Mhm.
Now, USC, they started out with a pretty good win against LSU, but they've had no good wins since then. And LSU wasn't even as good as all of us thought about when we started the season. Now they did play Penn State pretty close, but other than that, that's pretty much all they have. USC, they've got on both sides of the balls. They have a couple brothers that are transferring out. They're I think their number two receiver and they're one of their top corners. The brothers they're transferring out of USC, and I think they're both transferring to Arizona State. I think they're checking those out this year. It's two teams that have both had really good flashes of greatness, right? Like the loss to Texas by Texas A&M, it was a good loss. If we're being honest, I think the final score was 17-7. It was a lot closer than that looked. USC, yeah, they don't really have much going for them as far as the actual games that they've played. They should have been really good going into this year, especially coming off the momentum of LSU. They almost played Notre Dame kind of close, which would have been a really, really good game. And if they had even lost by just a couple points, I might have gone the other way on this. I think they ended up losing by two, at least two scores. I'm going to take Texas A&M in this game. I don't think so. This is kind of my disclaimer for this one. I don't think this is going to be a good game. I think this is going to be a sloppy game all the way around because neither team has those great playmakers that are going to make the big flashy plays. It's going to be a defensive type of play and see who can actually convert in the red zone. But I'm going to take Texas A&M.
Cam,
Who does this game mean more for? So Lincoln Riley on the season is 6-6. This would put him over the 500 mark in a season where, Joey, to your point, he's just felt underwhelming in pretty much every year that he's had outside of Caleb Williams' Heisman season. Mike Yelko with a win would be 9-4, I
four,
think, on the
yeah,
season,
9-4.
which I think would bode really well after the Jimbo Fisher, departure. The biggest question mark for me is just watching a decent Texas A&M defense against a pretty well unknown USC offense. So obviously we have Miller Moss in the transfer portal. Puts Jaden Mavea, I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, Mavia, uh, as your top quarterback. I know he's played the last game or two. There's a lot of question marks that kind of exist. A&M's defense versus USC's offense. A&M over the season has allowed 229 through the air per game, while USC has achieved nearly 300 per game. Marcel Reed has had flashes, Texas A&M's quarterback, of being really good, and then being not quite so good against, Texas, where he put up 7 points. Evan, I think I kind of have to disagree with you. I'm going to roll with USC on this one. I really think that Lincoln Riley's job has a lot to do with trying to stay here and being successful for the future. I think it could be a pretty compelling game, but to your point, I think it could be a bit sloppy.
Um, I mean, honestly, I don't think USC is that good. I think Lincoln Riley's very underwhelming, and he might not be there in a few years. Just give me Texas A&M. I honestly, Texas A&M fans should be happy with 8-4 in the SEC and 9-4 if they win this game.
Ecstatic,
They
ecstatic.
they think, and honestly, like schools like Auburn and Florida are the same way. They think they are a 1A a tier 1A school, and they just aren't any. They just aren't. You know, um, Texas A&M is not a tier 1A school. They're not even tier 1B. Maybe they are. I don't know, but they should be.
Maybe tier one B minus.
Yeah, yeah. They should be very happy with a 9-4 season. The only thing they should really be happy about this year is getting smacked by Texas, their rival. Um, Give me Texas A&M, just because. Why the hell not? All right, my turn. And guys, I'm going to be really short and sweet. So, Connecticut, UNC, two basketball schools playing at a baseball stadium,
I heard the
Fenway
same
Park.
thing.
Yeah. So So two basketball schools at a baseball stadium playing football. So that's pretty odd. Um, Honestly, I'm really only interested in this game because it's Bill Belichick's team. Now he's not going to probably be on the sidelines for this at all, but I bet you he's there. Uh, Bill Belichick coming to UNC is the biggest story in North Carolina this year. Hands down. We were all shocked with it at my job. I'm a sports producer at a station in Charlotte. We were all absolutely shocked by it. The guy's not going to do a lick of recruiting, not one bit. He's not going to one recruit's house and doing any of that. He's going to hire people to do that, but I bet he's going to be a great coach. So I'm taking UNC in that one just because I think there's a lot of hype around the program, and I, I I think they could be good with Belichick just because I think they'll get recruits that want to go there. It's just up to him to coach them. Who do you guys like?
All right, I'll go. Yeah, Bill Belichick. Are you? Why couldn't he just stay gone? I mean, he retired the NFL as one of the best coaches in all of NFL history, maybe if not the best.
I think he just likes to coach. I think he's just one of
Yeah,
those guys that likes X's and O's and being a tactician. Like
yeah,
Saban. Saban probably misses being on the
definitely.
sidelines so bad.
Well, and that's kind of the comparison here, right?
Yeah.
Like Bill Belichick was the goat of NFL, Saban for college. And I think that Belichick will be there long term? No. He's an older guy, right? It kind of is what it is. But he didn't get to go out on his own terms, right? He lost Brady and immediately went downhill from there. So he's got a little bit of something to prove. Now, for this matchup specifically, it's two really confusing teams that, on paper, UNC has amazing stats, especially for offense, and especially behind Amari and Hampton,
Hmm.
who rushed for over 1,600 yards and 15
Yeah, he's
touchdowns.
been a stud.
He's absolutely great. Now, I don't know. This game, I don't think is going to be the most fun to watch, other than for projecting for next year and the year after that with Bill Belichick. I think that is going to be a really cool story to see at the beginning and continue to watch. UConn, stick to basketball.
Yeah.
UNC, all the way.
Yeah. Uh, Cam.
Evan, this is like championship week. Joey, welcome to the club.
Okay.
I'm going UConn. Let's go. All right.
I'd love to
So,
hear some reasoning here. Make me
why
a
do
believer.
why do I like this? All right. In the past, historically, when we have major change that is going on in a university, I really don't have faith in the players being bought into the current system. They know who the new coach is. I think a lot of them are actually going to transfer out. I think a lot of new guys, probably with more talent, are probably going to transfer in. I actually really think this is a bad game for UNC. This game means a lot to UConn. To both y'all's points, they are a basketball school. Joe Fagano is actually a sixth-year senior at UConn, trying to make this win here. Uh,
What a
he
dumb
ha-
stat, too.
hey,
You got a 6-year senior.
he
That's
came in to replace Nick Evers, and since then he's thrown for 1,800 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 4 picks. He's really been electric since midway through the season. And they've also had Cam Edwards, the running back, has stepped up over the last few weeks as well. The other big stat I really, really like, UNC has had a little bit of a down year. UConn allows 22 points a game. UNC allows almost 30. I think right there, that speaks for what's coming. Let's go UConn. Let's go Huskies.
All right. Cam just going in the opposite direction. Now, I wonder if
Always throws a wrench.
you had UNC picked until we gave our picks, and you're like, you know what? I'm just going in the other direction.
I think about
I,
this every week.
I would hold my paper up, but I genuinely maybe I should start doing that. In fact,
I
well,
can't
you
read
can't
that.
see it, but
No,
UConn
you
is
you
written there. I
don't. Yeah,
promise.
yeah. You don't need to show your paper. We know you write way more than the rest of us.
All right, my final game, the Alamo Bowl, and BYU against Colorado. And what I absolutely love about this game is that Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter are playing. I mean, look at the bowl era we live in, where you would totally not even blame these guys for sitting out a game like this because they're both going to be top five picks. One of these guys may even be the number one pick. Probably Shador Sanders, just because NFL teams are quarterback happy and they will draft a quarterback that's not ready over probably the best player in the class in Travis Hunter and the Heisman winner. But I love that Deion Sanders is getting these guys to play. In fact, Deion Sanders said all of his seniors are playing. They're not giving up on this game. So I just love that attitude, and I think they're going to smack BYU. Now, BYU's had a good season, but give me Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders aren't coming in to just fool around and lose this game. They're going to come in, they're going to smack BYU, and they're going to go out on a high note. So it's just refreshing that these guys are stepping up and playing in this game. That's how I feel. You want to
Evan,
start,
I'm going
Cam?
to take this. You got it. So I'm going to take this one off. I'm going to call something out that's a little bit out of the ordinary. And Evan, I know you're Mr. NIL, so I'm sorry if I'm saying it before you. We have Mr. Manischewitz playing in this game. As a fellow Jewish tribe member myself, I love seeing the BYU, Mr. Jake Retzlaff, have an opportunity to go out there and absolutely let it rip, especially against two Heisman candidates. I think it's absolutely fantastic to see BYU get some representation. Colorado's high flying offense, 4,000 yards, 35 touchdowns, and 8 picks for Shador. Quite frankly, this might be the most impressive quarterback in college football, in my opinion. If we look at just the sheer talent that surrounds him, yes, we do have Travis Hunter. Travis is a two-way player. He only has 1,100 yards as a receiver. They actually have, what did I write? I believe it is 6 players with over 500 yards receiving this season. Their offense is absolutely electric. All that said, they do a lot of passing and catching. They have zero run game at all. BYU, really bad against the run, actually not so bad against the pass. Uh, BYU's point of attack, don't, similar to Cam Ward in Iowa State, you need to be trying to reduce the amount of time that you have Shador on the field, and you need to have Travis Hunter playing mostly with his plays or snaps on the defensive side of the ball. Keep it away from his sidelines. We all know how dangerous he can be. Uh, Joey, I genuinely agree with you on this one. I think Colorado is going to do it. I think the high flying offense is too much to go. But Evan, I'll pass it over to you.
Oh gosh. All right, it's my turn to make a little different pick here.
Uh-oh.
So, so I want to start by saying this is the best matchup by two teams that were so close to making the playoffs. The fact that they're playing each other is I wish that this was an 11 versus 12 matchup in the 12 team playoffs because both of these teams absolutely could have been there. Now, I I kind of went back and forth on this a lot. BYU, I've been kind of down on them this entire season, to be completely honest, because I don't think they deserve to be ranked as high as they originally were. Colorado, I think they were ranked pretty much appropriately the entire season. I'm hoping that all the noise uh, about Dion possibly not being there next year doesn't get to the players. But Ratzlaff, he's a really good quarterback. They've got enough in the tank on defense, I think, to hold off some Colorado offense. And I don't know that Colorado's defense has enough to really compete with them. So I'm going to take BYU in this. I think it's going to be a pretty close game, and I don't think Colorado is built for close games. So I'm going to take them. I just don't think that Dion can take it there.
Do you guys see Dion coaching this team next year? Because I absolutely do not.
I do.
You
Yeah,
do.
I do only because his next step is NFL. He already turned down Dallas for the NFL job, so I don't think there's any other place he'd rather be.
I personally believe he's in a great place. I hope that he stays. I really don't have a say or even a thought on whether he should go or should stay. I think if the right opportunity comes up, he should take it. If the right one that he feels doesn't come up, I think Colorado's a hell of a home for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's a
Now,
great place.
if you ask me if he's going to be there the year after next, no, I don't think he'll be there
So you
more
think
than.
he's gone in the next two no matter what?
Yes, yeah, I do. I think he's going to go to the NFL pretty soon. He's made it pretty well known that he wants to be in the NFL. This just wasn't the right year for him.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think the only way I think if FSU came calling, he'd give that serious consideration. But FSU has, tied their ship to Mike Norvell at least for another year.
At
So
least for the next couple of years,
yeah,
yeah.
so we'll have to see what develops there. But I guess he'd stay, but his stock is never going to be higher with these two Heisman winners. So if
Yeah.
I were him, I'd sell high and take the best job I can. Well, I can.
Dion to Ohio State. Let's go. Here we go. I had to get it out.
All right. On that note, let's go to the last word. And today, what we're going to do is just give our record for last week's game. So last week, we picked the four first round games, we picked the two FCS semifinal games, and then we picked Florida Tulane. Uh, Cam, why don't you start with your record?
I believe that I was 4-3. I had selected, I picked Texas to beat Georgia. I genuinely thought that they would have it ready for the game. Obviously, it was a heck of a game going into overtime, but they were not able to pull away.
Wait, I'm sorry. Who
Net,
did you say that?
I picked Texas to beat Georgia. Oh, what?
That's
Wow.
what I
I
thought.
did,
Yeah.
I did that again. My most sincere apologies. I'm thinking SEC championship. Yes, I had selected Texas to beat SMU. Or sorry.
You
Oh my
drunk?
goodness. No.
You know
Uh,
what? You want
Clemson.
me to go and then come back to him? Yeah. Let's.
yeah, you go ahead. I was pulling up my notes to look at
It's
last
okay.
week's
You
recap.
picked Clemson. You picked
We
Clemson.
we all
Thank you,
picked
sir.
we all picked the three teams that won and then picked Tennessee, and Tennessee lost.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're
Exactly.
correct.
Yeah. You messed up on if I recall correctly, you messed up on the
Tulane.
Florida Tulane and one of the FCS matchups.
Correct. I took Tulane. I really thought that their offense, even though I was told just after I went through my commentary that they had a lot of transfer portal guys. And then the South Dakota State game, I also had incorrect. North Dakota State ended up pulling away with that one. I believe you said in the last 1 minute. I did not see the very end of that one, Evan.
Yeah. Well, I lost one game last week. My beloved Tennessee Vols got absolutely embarrassed, and that we'll dive more into that in the next episode. But yeah, overall, pretty happy how I performed. I thought the FCS matchups were real sleepers, and they were really really good games. Uh, yeah, that's all I could say about that. North Dakota State kind of made a last minute comeback there to beat South Dakota State in kind of a glorious fashion. But I'm pretty happy with my record.
I missed Tennessee, which was a huge shocker, and then I picked against Montana State. I picked South Dakota. And to be fair, I wasn't really even prepared for those games, so I just kind of said the Dakotas. So that's on me, guys. But I did get my Florida pick right. That game was pretty brutal to watch, to be honest with you. But they got the win. Happy for Napier. Happy for the team. And I'm happy that we are through another episode of Settle for Three. Um, Next week, we're going to be talking about the college football playoff again. We got New Year's Eve and New Year's Day games, and that's going to be so exciting.